Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. As usual, it is your host, it is your content creator, it is your facilitator, Karan Rose. DJ, you know what to do. DJ, fade us all the way out. We got to talk to the people. July 28th, 2022, episode number 88. Somebody give us a round of applause for episode number 88. It has been a journey. It has been a ride. It has been a fun time with you guys building the Digipreneur FM family. And honestly, man, every single time I turn on the podcast recorder and I get all set up, I'm always hype. I always get hype. Just getting everything set up. And I really do have fun with the podcast. Like, I think when I'm creating, certain types of content, it's more of okay, I need to get this out there. So when I have to do video content for social media, it usually is, all right, I have to get this out there. I don't have the same fanfare and excitement when I got to do video content on social media. It's more of all right, this has to get out. I got to talk about X, Y, and Z. Let's go and shoot this. Let's get out there. When I blog, I have a lot of fun, but I realize it's the process of making a blog for me that's fun. Like, I might have like a really good idea, but then I'm blasting music. I'm out here and I mean, usually when I'm blogging, there's no videos, there's nobody here. It's just me. So music is blasting. I'm dancing. Whatever the mood is, wherever the mood is for the music, we might be salsa in, across the room. We might have to bust a little wine. You never know. You might have to sea walk sometime. You never know. A willy bounce. You never know. Whatever the mood is for the music, that'll dictate the kind of vibes and the dancing that goes on. And all of that is happening while blogging. So you might just write a paragraph and be like, oh, that paragraph was it. And just, break out in song and dance, So I have so much fun blogging, and I have a lot of fun podcasting, But it's not the same energy. So usually when I record a podcast, it's usually between 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So like right now it's 6 a.m. right here in Trinidad and Tobago. So usually I like to get these ones out of I like to get my my podcast done first thing in the morning because it's nice, it's quiet, and my mind is fresh and I could be, I don't know, it just flows. I find when I have to record podcasts, morning times it just flows. Usually when I do it, in the afternoon or the evening, it's just not the same for me when it comes to recording a podcast, right? So when you're thinking about whatever content you are creating, so I see a lot of people, and this is going to kind of, dive into today's episode, but when I see people talking about content and, they get into a rut or they can't, or nothing's coming, or they're just not feeling it, you really have to look at your own creative time. And I feel like that's not something spoken about enough or highlighted enough. You have to figure out when is your creative time. Because I guarantee you, everybody has a creative time. Even when people consistently produce content and they do it throughout the entire day, I guarantee if they thought about it, they would tell you that there is a time of the day where things flow easier, right? And when it's flowing, that's your creative time. So if you ever feel like you're in a content rut, you're sitting down to do the work, but nothing is coming, try to figure out your creative time. And now remember, most people that are listening to this podcast are business owners, right? But creatives, pure creatives, have long figured that out. And I've realized, some of my favorites, I shouldn't say favorite, but some of my videographer friends, some of my photographer friends. Oh, excuse me, hold on. Had to clear my throat real quick. My voice just got choppy out of nowhere. But some of my creative friends, everybody has their time where things just work. So sometimes it's overnight. They burn the midnight oil. It's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when, the place is quiet. And for them, it just flows. For me, I'm in bed by like 9:30. So that could never happen for me. But I've realized when I get up at 3 a.m. and I read, I have my tea, creative time is then. You see, between 3 a.m. to about 8 a.m., all of my creative work needs to be done by then. And I stumbled onto my creative time by accident because back in 2019, I had a job for 6 months, right? And during that job, I still had a business to run. I was still creating content. I still had my business. I was still building my brand. So my motto at that point in time was I need to make money for my business and build my brand before I go make money for another company. So I started to wake up at 3 a.m. to get all of my work done before I would leave the house and go to work. And I realized, a blog that would have taken me, maybe 2 to 3 hours to research, put together and whatnot. I just realized that it flowed. Like I got to a point where it was taking me an hour flat to write a 2,000 word blog, edit it, publish it, optimize it, distribute the content onto whatever platforms. And I was able to do all of that within an hour, hour and a half. And what made it easier for me was I'm doing it at that early time. And I realized that, content just flew. It flowed for me. Content flowed for me during that time. And there was no hiccups. There was no blips. It felt like I just always knew what to say. Right? Because by the time I get in front of a computer to actually produce the content, once I have the idea of what I want to do, usually I would have already have done the research, or I'm speaking from experience. So I'm just, regurgitating my own experience, right? But it just flowed. So that is one of the most important tips I could give you about creating content that doesn't get highlighted enough. The creatives know this, but for business owners that are creating content, figure out your creative time. You may need to change your schedule. You may need to change your schedule to get this thing out. So I used to love working out early in the morning. That was that's always been my favorite time to work out, early in the morning. But then obviously that would clash with my creative time. And I realized that throughout the rest of the day, I'm never in that space to be creative. Throughout the rest of the day, I can't do creative work. But I could work out in the afternoon. I could work out in the evening. So I've had to adjust. And I prioritize getting all of my creative work out for my business, get that out, because I can't do that throughout the rest of the day. And even though, working out early in the morning was my favorite time to work out, I could work out later on in the evening. The second best time for me is evening time, like coming down to closer to bedtime, right? But for creative hours, there's just past 8 o'clock, I feel like I'm useless. I could just never get out when I need to get out, right? So think about that when you guys are in a rut. Find your creative time. Rework your schedule if you need to, and you'll start to see that getting the content out there, creating it will flow a bit differently. So that kind of flows into the conversation for today. The topic for today is how to defeat content burnout. How to defeat content burnout. Now, content burnout is real. I'm sure if you are listening to this, at some point you may have felt it, right? You may have felt content burnout where you consistently keep on churning out content, and at some point you get exhausted or you hit that rut. You hit that rut and you just don't know what else to say. You don't know what to produce. And it's easy to get into a content rut it's easy to face content burnout because social media and the way of the world is now is designed for you to keep on churning out content. All right. So you might have heard some of your favorite creators say they've been burnt out by constantly having to produce content because the algorithms on social media and YouTube, they keep wanting you to churn out content. And you get to a place where you feel like you have to force yourself to create content, multiple pieces of content every single week. And you get onto what I call the content hamster wheel, where you just keep on churning and churning and churning and churning out content. And to no end. As long as you are still in this space, you just continue to churn out content to no end. And at some point, you hit that place where you get content burnout. And so I want to talk about how to defeat that. Now, if you're listening to this, and this is your first time hearing one of my podcasts, welcome to the Digipreneur FM family. I hope you stay. Hope you have some fun. All right, kick your feet up. But if you have been following me for a while, and you follow me in different platforms, different places, then you would know that I create content for every single platform on every single medium. Right? I'm at that point where even if I don't have the largest following, I'm at that point where I don't think there is another business content creator or even content creator period in the entire Caribbean that puts out as much content as me. So I create blogs, I create video content for social and YouTube, I create podcasts, I have a radio show, I have a column in the Newsday, I'm a professional speaker at this point. I'm a workshop facilitator. So I'm creating content for every single medium, both digital and traditional. And I'm creating this content every single week. And I've been doing this since 2016 with no break. No break. And I want to make this clear. I have never faced content burnout. I don't think I would ever face content burnout. And I've realized this in thinking about it. Like the more I talk to people who they're in their business, they're doing every single thing in their business. And then you're telling them to now they got to create content and they got to make, 6 videos or 5 videos a week and they got to do this, they got to do that. I hear them and I hear the burnout. I hear the burnout. And I know how easy it is to get there. I know how easy it is to get there. And I know that it is real. But for me, when I hear people talking about content burnout, I'm also thinking about, why haven't I faced content burnout? And I've had to reflect on that, because I think I've been doing a lot of great things to never face burnout, period. Like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I was burnt out from, overworking myself. Because, I mean, to me, this is going to sound funny, but I feel like I'm lazy. I feel like I'm lazy. And I think I've subconsciously done things to stay far away from burnout, period. And I've also subconsciously done things that kept me away from content burnout. So in listening to people and seeing how they've gotten there, I've also had to reflect on how I haven't gotten there. And in that reflection, I think I've developed some strategies subconsciously that I've now, I now execute on consciously, but I was doing it subconsciously for a very long time. And now I think I have a pretty good system that just doesn't allow for me to get burnt out. And I don't think I would ever face content burnout. I mean, we're going on 6 years. And I've never felt like I've ever come close. And I don't think I ever will. At least for now. Who knows? Maybe next year I blow up, 10 times more. But then again, I don't think I ever will. So let's get into it, right? So this is one of these episodes where I didn't write anything down. I have the idea, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through my process, right? And usually I like to write things down just to keep me on point. But today I was like, man, I know this to the back of my hand. So I'm going to try. And like I said, usually I would write my points to just guide me. My points are usually for me to just stay on task, and, otherwise I could speak for 3 hours, like I do with Samantha Best every Friday on the digital world, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. AST. You love that plug, don't you? So one of the main reasons why I've never came close to content burnout is I do not participate in the content hamster wheel of social media. You see, social media wants you to continuously post content every single day and just keep pumping out brand new content. And when you're listening to experts, they're telling you got to post X amount of times and whatnot. I don't subscribe to it. But here's the thing. I do it, but I'm going to tell you how I do it. So for one, I have a website. And I will always urge business owners to stop looking at these influencers or content creators. Leave that game for them, right? Let them get burnt out. They don't have a business. You do. You can't afford to get burnt out. So you got to learn different systems to stay away from burnout. So as a business owner, you want to ensure that you have your website. And we've talked about, the different reasons why you want to have a website in a few other episodes. But for this purpose of this conversation, you want to have your website and you want to be creating your content on your website. And one of the key reasons this helps with content burnout is that your website is indexed by the search engines. So when you are creating your blogs, when you are creating video content on YouTube, all of this gets indexed by the search engine. When you learn how to do market research and look at the data and see exactly what people want, and you create that content, when you create content that gets indexed by the search engine, meaning somebody could go on a Google or a Bing or a Yahoo and type in a question and your content pops up, that's how you're going to start to build organic traffic. So your content is there. You created it the one time, and people can find your content years later. Every month when I get my reports for my Google Search Console and my Bing, and I look at how my website is performing on the search engines, the content that's been doing well, generating the most traffic, is content I've written 3 and 4 years ago. That's still relevant, still bringing me traffic, still bringing me sales, still bringing me opportunities. And so in knowing that the organic machine from search engines is working in my favor, mentally, I don't ever feel pressured to create content every day. So the people who face burnout feel pressured to constantly have to churn out content because most of them don't have a website, and those that do are not utilizing it properly. So the only platform people see them on is social media, and they're not Googleable. They're not searchable. Their content's not searchable. So in order for them to show up, they feel like they constantly have to keep churning out content. When you are getting your traffic for your content via organic search, there is a switch that goes on in your mind that says, I don't feel like I am being forced to produce content. Now, keep in mind, I produce a lot of content on social media, but I don't feel forced. And when I feel like I need a break, I take a break. I take a break. And at the end of the day, guess what? You are still able to get my content. My website is still showing up in search. It's still generating leads. My video content, because YouTube is a search engine, my video content is still showing up in search. And so I know that my content is still being viewed. People keep viewing YouTube as social media in the sense of, we have to keep churning out video content so that we can appease the algorithms and we can get views. Business owners, I need you to stop thinking like content creators in that aspect. People who only want to create content to get views because they don't have a business. So they have to keep churning out to build the audience, right? I need you to start thinking a bit more strategically like a business. YouTube is a search engine. When you learn how to do market research, when you learn how to title your videos properly, when you learn a bit of copywriting to write the right copy in your descriptions, and you put out content that people want, rather than you pretending to be somebody in the field with an AK and just spraying everywhere, spraying all this random, you need to start thinking like a sniper. Pick your points. Pick your shots. And so my video content on YouTube is a search engine. Title your videos correctly. Learn how to do that. Learn how YouTube works as a search engine, and you will start to understand that your videos show up to the people who are searching. If you learn to appease that, if you learn to think about YouTube as a search engine and focus on the fact that your videos Even if they're getting less views, your videos, because YouTube is a search engine, are going to be shown to the people who are looking for your content. Your videos are going to be shown to the right people. So you don't have to worry about the volume. Know that when people are searching, and your video content, your blogs, even podcasts are indexed by the search engines as well. All of these things can show up in search, bringing you traffic over time consistently. Once you do the market research, you learn how to do market research, you understand what people are searching for, and you create that content, you learn how to title your stuff, you learn how to write, and you understand how the search engines work. And there's tons of free courses teaching you this, right? When you understand that, it takes the pressure off of trying to produce content to appease the social media algorithms. Because the social media algorithm is the social media algorithm. But that doesn't mean that you as a business owner have to play that game. You don't need to capture everybody. You don't need 1 million views to make $1 million. And that was something that I was listening to a podcast when I just got started podcasting. I was listening to a podcast just talking about podcasts and podcast numbers, right? And they said that podcasting, the way podcasting is set up, it's one of the most intentional pieces of content that you could do, but the numbers get very discouraging because you might see 10 downloads, 20 downloads, 100 downloads, 200 downloads, even 1,000 downloads. And when you're thinking about when you're looking and you're seeing 1,000 downloads, you're like, wow, that's low. When I go on social media, I'm getting 5,000 impressions. So when you're comparing podcast downloads to other platforms and the impressions and the reach, the numbers are low, right? But what they said in the podcast was that you might have one download and might get discouraged. But what if that one download was Elon Musk? You have a tech podcast and the one download every single time was Elon Musk. Would you stop podcasting knowing that it was just one download? Or would you continue to podcasting knowing that that one download was Elon Musk? Another idea that I've learned is that to be a millionaire, it just takes one person to pay you $1 million. When you think about it, to be a millionaire, it just takes one person to pay you $1 million. And I think it was Daniel Priestley, author of Key Person of Influence, that was talking about he worked with a client who was a personal trainer, and he was burnt out because he was working at a gym as a gym personal trainer, and he was getting paid hourly, and he had a quota of how many people that he had to train. So he was working long, lengthy hours, training a bunch of people, burnt out, not making no money. And then when he worked with him, and I think Daniel Priestley had worked with him, or he was friends. I forget the story, but they were friends, or he was working with him as a client, like he was actually doing personal training with him. And he worked with him on the business side of it, and he told him, and they built out a structure that saw him become a millionaire because he only decided to work with millionaires. So they restructured the business, they restructured the messaging, the positioning, so he only worked with millionaires. And he has 5 clients for the entire year, but they're all millionaires, and he is a millionaire because everybody pays him a heck of a lot more. He has much more free time. He's making money. He's not burnt out, but he only trains 5 people a year. And so you have to solve the right problem for the right people to get those types of numbers. Your content has to solve the right problems for the right people. And that will allow you to stop focusing on the mass. Because if you have an actively engaged group of 100 people, you might have 100 followers. But if that 100 is actively engaged and they're paying you large sums of money, that could be $1 million right there. And so coming back to content, to get away from the content burnout, your content just needs to show up for the right people at the right time, which comes back to thinking about your website and content that gets indexed by the search engines, because people are actively searching for it. And because the number one place for people to start their research and to start a sales process is through Google, when you do a Google search, what pops up? 80% of that results page is links to a website, links to content on your website. That other bit is linked to a YouTube video or linked to a podcast. And remember, people are searching for their problems, or they have questions to achieve a desire. So they're not going to type in a celebrity personal trainer. They're not going to type in, you could be a personal trainer, a small business person. They're not looking for you. They're looking for answers to their problems. So when you start to create content that answers the problems that they are asking, and you have your content showing up when they are searching, then you're always going to show up. If you understand that, hey, keto diet gets searched 1 million times, and you learn to create content around keto, get it on your website, learn how to optimize it so that every time someone searches anything keto, you're popping up. That's generating traffic, leads, and sales for you. And you only created that content one time. And so in knowing that, when you physically look at your data and you see that, you're still generating leads, you're still seeing your content is being viewed every single day for years. That one blog you wrote 3 years ago is still driving the most traffic to you every single day for the last 3 years. Your mindset to how you create content changes. So I don't ever feel pressured to post on social. So that takes a major load off of me when I approach social media. So now when I start to create content for social media, I don't feel pressured. So I create a lot of content. Yeah, I create a lot of content for social media. But I don't have the anxiety or the pressure. So I need to make that clear, because to me, that is the biggest mindset shift that you have to have. When you put the things in place for organic traffic, you can now take your time with social media. You can approach it with more ease and more grace, knowing that you can post today, but you post because you want to post. You post because you have something to say, and you get it out there. Not because, oh my God, this is the only way people are going to see me. And if people don't see my social media content, there's no other way for them to find my content. Nobody's going to scroll past a week, 2 weeks, a month to see old content. So I have to keep on churning out new content on social media to stay relevant. That's what we're trying to get away from. And to get away from that, you need to understand organic traffic. Have your website. Write your blog content. Do your video content. Get it on YouTube. Play YouTube as the search engine and not the social media. So I have videos, only a few hundreds of views. But every time someone messages me and says, I just watched your YouTube video, and I'm like, I did that video a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And because YouTube is a search engine, people ask me questions about things all the time. And I could quickly pull up my YouTube video and send it to them and say, hey, I've answered this question in this video. Check this out. By the time they watch that video, the question was either answered or they're ready to book a call. So all of that helps you in your business. You see this thing what TikTok is trying to do, right? Where TikTok is like, they're encouraging people to answer questions via video. That's all to keep you on their platform and keep you on the hamster wheel of churning out content. Now, I'm not saying, don't do it. But you have people that'll create one video and then answer every single question with a video on TikTok. I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to play that game. If you're bored and have time, sure. If you are a content creator or you're an quote unquote influencer and that's what you're doing, then hey, no problem. But if you actually have a business, you can't afford to do all of that. So I would see those questions. I'd create the initial video. I would see those questions and I would document those questions. And that might be a video for a future date. But my first instinct is to create a blog, create a podcast, create a YouTube video because I'm playing the long game. I'm going to play the long game and I want my stuff showing up in search. So once I have, my long form content or the content being indexed by a search engine, then what I do for social media is I would then I would look at, what I did in the long form piece of content. And then I would go on social media and I would create a condensed version of it. Now, what I do appreciate is that now that TikTok is popping and Instagram is only giving you organic reach if you're doing Instagram Reels. They're not really giving you organic reach for any other type of content. They're only giving it to you on organic. They're only giving you organic reach on Reels. Doing short form video has made it a lot easier. So now I could do a podcast, I could do a blog, I could do any one of my long form pieces of content. And then because I've already done the long form piece of content, I just look and see what are the key points I want to pull out. And it's easy for me to jump in front of a TikTok video and do a 60-second, basically a recap of the long form video, just condensing it down to 60 seconds, bang that out for TikTok, throw it out there. TikTok will do its thing. Take that video, remove the watermark, throw it on Instagram Reels. I'll get the organic reach over there. And then guess what? I take that 60-second video that I did on TikTok, Instagram Reels, and I go and throw it on YouTube Shorts because YouTube Shorts is part of the search engine and that shows up in search. So people could see the long form video and they could see a 60-second short form condensed version of that video on YouTube Shorts. And that flow takes all of the anxiety away from creating content. And it removes me from the content hamster wheel. It allows me to take breaks. And what happens now, and this is one of the core reasons why I don't feel burnt out. The reason why you see me posting content every single day is because after 3 months of creating content, you get into the field or you get into the space where you get into content repurposing. So when you've been creating content for 3 months, you now can go back to what you did in the beginning in the last 3 months, and you could start to repost that content because the reality is Social media algorithms do not show your content to everybody. Hallelujah for that. Y'all vex about the algorithms. And people vex that, we want chronological order. I do not. I don't. I love the algorithm because the algorithm staggers showing your content. And that means that me as the content creator, I get to go back into the archives, what I did months past, and repost it like it's brand new. And it's amazing to me when I see my content I've done years ago, me reposting, or even content I've done 3 months to years ago. When I repost that evergreen content, I'll break that down in a second. When I repost that content, man, I have content that's done better the third and fourth time of me reposting it. You hear what I just said? I have content doing its best numbers on the third and fourth repost. And people are like, man, where was this a year ago when I needed it? And I'm like, it was always there. I did this 3 years ago. But that's what the social media algorithm does. It doesn't show it to everybody. You guys should be happy because now you get to go back into the archives and reshare content. So I focus a lot of evergreen content for this reason. So there's evergreen content and then there's dated content. So news is usually dated content because they're talking about current affairs, current events, things that are happening in the now. And so if it happens today, it might not be relevant next week. No one's going to care about it next week. So a news company is on a content hamster wheel because they have to keep looking for stories, current events every single day. Every single day. So when you create dated content, when you're creating news type of content, or you're talking about current events, things that are happening right now for now, and that's all I see it on social media all the time. People who are popular, who have pop-in channels because they talk about current events, no problem. But you're on a content hamster wheel by force. There's no getting off of that. Business owners, you can talk about things happening in your industry, no problem. But understand it comes with a risk. Understand that risk means that if you are constantly talking about what's happening in the industry, the content is dated. And you can't reshare that content later on. But when you start to teach in your industry, that content is evergreen. And when you have a boatload of evergreen content, you will never get to a point of content burnout because you can always go back to an article you did, 10 ways to cook chicken. 10 ways to do rosemary chicken. You might have done that blog a year ago, 3 months ago. And you can, I don't feel like creating content today. No problem. We dive into the archives. We pull out that video, that short form video that we did months ago, and we repurpose it. We pull out that old blog and we reshare that old blog. We pull out that old podcast and we reshare that content onto socials. You might even put it in your email newsletter. Remember, you can repurpose content all across your channels. And when you do that, you stay far away from content burnout. I show up every single day. I post every single day. My commitment to my business and my brand is that I will do something for my brand every single day. I will do one thing for my brand every single day. But when I wake up and I realize, man, I'm not in the mood. I'm not feeling it. I take a break. And I feel no ways. I don't feel no guilt. There is no guilt when I don't create content Because I have, at this point in this point in my life, this stage of my career, prior to 2020, from 2016 to 2020, I had hundreds of tech blogs. And I only really started to create content around, online business and digital from 2019. And we're in 2022. So I have content from 2019, and 95% of my content, whether it be video, at this point, podcasts, blogs, it's all evergreen. 95% of my content is evergreen. And I focus heavily on evergreen content so that I can repurpose the content later on. You would not believe how my future self loves me. My future self loves me. Because when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, man, I'm tired. I'm going back to bed. I might wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you follow me, you know that I wake up at 3 a.m. Between 3 and 4 a.m., I'm up. And I can do that consistently because on the days I'm not feeling it, I go back and sleep. Or I might do everything that I have to do. I might do this. I might read. I might do the podcast. I might blog. I might get everything out. It's 7 o'clock right now. I might publish it and go back to bed. But I did my work. So the days I don't feel like doing it, I rest. And I could show up every day because I just go back into the archives and I reshare the older content that's still relevant because it's evergreen. And then I watch and I chuckle to myself as, wow, this did better today than it did some months ago or some years ago, because it might be still relevant or it might be even more relevant now. Mixing the fact that people didn't see it. Man, I see people who commented on the last time I posted it saying, oh my God, this is great. This is a great reminder. And they comment, engage, and reshare. And I'm like, man, you said the same thing the last time, or you engaged on it the last time. But they don't realize it, right? Life is happening. So you want to have your website because your website shows up in a search. You want to have your YouTube channel, and stop thinking about YouTube on growing the views. Focus on getting the right content on YouTube to show up in search. And that will show up to the right people at the right time. Focus on learning. What are the things that I can do that get organic reach? What are the things that I can do that get organic traffic? And if you focus on that and you put your time and effort into that, and then you look at social media, and like I said, social media right now, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, even LinkedIn, they favor a lot of short form videos. So when you have the long form content, it's easier now to just look at what you just did in long form and condense it down to a video, share it on on Instagram Reels, TikTok, get that out there. And you don't have to post every day on social media. You don't have to post every day on social media. I don't post every day I do stories because stories is easy. Stories for me is the easiest thing because you just whip out your phone and showcase what's going on in real life right now and show tidbits and pieces. So that's easy to do. There's no editing. There's no reel. It's just a behind the scenes look. I treat my IG stories as a behind the scenes. And I just show people, what goes on in my day. And that's easy content to create. Any and everybody in business should be doing that. Whip out your phone. I'm not telling you to live on stories all day. You don't have to live on social all day. Jump on social, showcase some behind the scenes. That's content. But you don't have to post in your feed or post to reels every single day. No. But then, guess what? You get to the point where when you have so much content after 3 months, you should start having content that you can now repurpose. And then as the years go by, you have more content in the bank. And you could start to show up every single day by mixing new content and repurposing evergreen content. That's the secret to showing up every single. I could show up every single day from now until thy kingdom come. Now until I quit. Because I have years worth of content. Now add in the fact that, guess what? I write in one of our top newspapers, one of our top media houses. So they publish that in print and they upload it to their website. So I have content from TT Newsday that I can repurpose, and I only ever, and this is the thing, this is why I brought up the news house. All of the news reporters create dated content because it's news, it's dated. I use Newsday to create evergreen content. And because it's a media house, they have authority. They are viewed as an authority space. So now I could also share that level of authority content from Newsday all the time because guess what? I have been writing in the Newsday since February. And I have months of content in the bank that I repurpose. I create content for Flow Business. And they share that out on their platforms. So I can pull out the produced content that Flow Business does. Grab that and reshare it onto my platforms. Plus all the content that I do. So there are days where I dedicate to writing for Newsday. There are days I dedicate to creating content for Flow. And every single Friday, I'm on radio with Freedom 106.5 here in Trinidad and Tobago with Guardian Media. I'm on radio every single Friday. And you know what they do? They're taking their time, but they do it. They're converting all of our shows into podcast episodes. And guess who can repurpose that content too? Where's my bomb? Oh. I can repurpose every single thing I do. So when you start to look at the catalog of content, people say I'm the most, yes, I am the most consistent. And you're going to find me on every single medium. Personally, I don't say it publicly. I'm saying it today, but I don't say it publicly. But I personally feel like I am the best content creator in the Caribbean. I feel like I'm the best. There's another person who I would probably say is tied, but they have a team, so I feel like I'm better. That's Kalila Reynolds out of Jamaica, because she has a team, and they create content on every single platform in every single medium, and she has a large, healthy following, right? Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying I'm the number one influencer. I'm not saying I'm the most viewed. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I feel like I am the number one creator. I'm one of the top creators in the entire region because I do every single thing at a high level. I also have a lot of reach, but I'm not talking about that because that could be debated. I'm saying I feel like I'm the best creator because I'm creating on print, that gets uploaded to e-papers. I'm on radio. That gets uploaded to that podcast as well. I have my own podcast. I have my own blogs. I do video content on my channels. I do video content for Flow Business. And that gets circulated in every single Caribbean island. And people don't know that. But Flow Business, Flow on the whole, Flow, Cable and Wireless, they are the largest telecoms operator in the entire Caribbean region. They are much larger than Digicel. And Cable and Wireless is a part of Liberty Global, which is top, I think Liberty Global is top 3 telecoms operators in the entire world, right? So their network and reach is huge. So even if you feel like you're not seeing the views on their social media content, the content that we are building for Flow Business is to build a repository so that because of Flow Business and because of what they do in every single Caribbean island, they want to bring business owners to their portals, their own channels that they own, and have a repository of content. That's what they do. That's what they have. And their focus is on that, their own channels, not necessarily social media numbers. We distribute it on social media to make it public. But the goal is to build a repository. That's already been in progress. We have it. Content is there. We're driving traffic back to that platform so people can go and engage and learn from their channels. Right? And why does Flow do that? Because Flow understands the same thing. They know that they want to be able to repurpose content and have organic reach. That is why they're not just leaving the content. All the videos and the blog, all that stuff, we don't just leave it on social media. They have all of that stuff on their platforms so that they can generate organic reach. That is the cure for content burnout. Understanding organic reach, having your platforms, getting your content onto those platforms. And once you have that in order, your mindset towards social media changes and how you approach it changes. And then you can get into the habit of content repurposing. The days that you're too busy to create new content, no problem. Let me take 5 minutes. Let me go and grab something from the bank. Let me go and reshare that, and bam, people are engaging on it like it's brand new. And you go about your business. That, for me, is why I will never get burnt out. And the reason why I could say that in the future as well is because I have so much content. So whenever I want to reshare from Freedom, when I want to reshare from Newsday, when I want to reshare from Karen Rose, when I want to reshare from Digipreneur, that's why Digipreneur has its own website as well. And I embed all of the episodes onto Digipreneur FM website as well. So I could reshare every single thing. And all of my evergreen content I do post on social media. Because I have the reels, even when I was doing, carousels and stuff like that, I focus so much on evergreen content, and I would archive the old content. So that's another thing that I would do. I archive the old social media content and I reshare it again. And that is how I'm able to post every single day. It's a mix of new content created and a mix of older content that's in the bank. That is how you defeat content burnout. No! I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope this gave you some insights. Content burnout is real. It happens. There are days you're going to wake up and feel like you don't know what to post. You don't know what to create. You're in a rut. I get it. I have woken up. There has been weeks. I've had a week where, and it's not often, but it happens. I've had a week where I don't create nothing. But guess what? I show up every single day because I have content. And the only thing I might do that week is a podcast. The only thing I might do that week is an article in Newsday. The only thing I might do is the radio show. So even if I do a podcast, a Newsday article, and the radio show, that's just 3 things out of the entire week. And the rest could be buffered with content I pull from the archives. So that's where you want to get to, especially as a business, because you have other things to worry about and you also have real life to worry about. All right. So I hope this episode was insightful. I hope it gave you a paradigm shift to how to approach this game as a business owner. Stop following the social media influencers and content creators. Leave them alone. Let them get burnt out. Let them do their thing. You as a business owner cannot afford to get burnt out, so you need to learn all the life strategies to balance yourselves. That way you stay far away from burnout. Okay? Y'all ask me how I'm able to show up every single day and create so much content. I just gave you my secret. This is my secret sauce. And I was doing this unconsciously for so many years until I started to really realize what people are saying and what's happening in their lives as to why they're going through burnout and why I'm not. This is why I've been consistent every single week since 2016. I have never taken a week off. Well, at least to you guys on the surface. So if you guys enjoyed this episode today, episode 88, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to leave a review of the podcast. The reviews help the podcast grow. It helps the Digipreneur FM family grow across the globe. Shout outs to, a lot of the countries that I see listening in. Shout outs to Cyprus. Shout outs to South Africa, Panama, Argentina. I'm seeing France in the building. I'm seeing Ukraine. I'm like, Ukraine is listening in on the podcast. Don't y'all have other things to worry about? So shout outs to everybody tuning in. Shout outs to the Caribbean family. Shout outs to everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. That is, the largest, part of my support. Shout outs to Jamaica, Barbados, Dominica. Montserrat, I see y'all all the time. Cayman's coming in hard these days, Shout outs to everybody across the entire Caribbean region. I hope this content is helpful. I hope it resonates. I hope you're able to take, one or two things and start to apply it to your lives. And I hope it gave you a paradigm shift and a new way to approach content, because you got to do it, but you just got to be smart about it, all right? If you're not following me over on social media, go follow Keron Rose, KeronRose on all platforms, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Go follow me. I produce a lot of content over there. Instagram, I'm really active over on Instagram because I showcase a lot of my behind the scenes on Instagram stories. And, there's a lot of things that I get paid to do, and I share it on Instagram stories. It disappears in 24 hours, So if you're somebody who wants more information and wants to see how I do things, go follow me on Instagram. Instagram stories for me is always lit. I give away all my secret sauce there usually, So go check it out. Go follow me over on social media on whatever platform you are comfortable with. Don't forget to check out the KeronRose.com website to learn more about building your digital presence and monetizing your platforms. And you could also check out the Digipreneur.fm website to stay up to date on all things podcasts. All right. That's it from me today, folks. Is it hump day? No, it is Thursday. See, my days are kind of off. So happy Thursday. Hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the week. I would see you guys in our next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Keron Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Keron Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.